Hi, I'm Bukeka. I'm the B.
And I'm Enolia, and I'm the E.
Together, we are Be Empowered.
The universe is calling, calling, calling. The universe is calling me to be. It's calling me to listen more, talk less, and hold the light. The universe is calling me to be.
We believe that deep in our souls, we hold conversations, but for whatever reasons, we do not always take the opportunity to speak from our hearts.
We want you to imagine that you're sitting right here with us now, sipping a cup of tea or coffee at our dining room table, and we're having that conversation. You know, the one that encourages, inspires, and motivates you to the infinite possibilities that your life has to offer.
Let us help you to expand your imagination, to create your beautiful dream into reality. It starts right here and right now, because the universe is calling you to be.
The universe is calling me to be. The universe is calling, calling. The universe is calling me to be. It's calling me.
Hello, everybody. This is Bukeka, and I am with my dear, dear friend Enolia. We are the BE Empowered. And so welcome to our podcast today. We've got a really interesting topic. We're talking about ancestry. What are the gifts and what are the challenges that we have? Is it a gift or not? And so we've been just talking about the amazing gifts that we get from our ancestors, our parents, our grandparents. And we've also talked about the things that kind of get passed down to us that are not necessarily gifts. It's their burdens. It's the burdens that have taken place in the lineage of our lives, and the choice that we have to now decide if we want to take on those burdens or not. I say not. I say let's not take on those burdens and free ourselves. But sometimes it's a process. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, I would. Hello, everyone. Great to be here, and thank you for that beautiful introduction. And I think you're right on point, Bukeka. So let's talk about it a little bit. Okay, we have our lineage, we have our ancestry. So let's first of all define ancestry and lineage. It's those people who have come before us and who have lived before us that are our family members. And some of us, you know, being adopted or anything else like that, you know, they would say, well, you know, I don't know my lineage, or I don't know my ancestry because I was adopted or I was changed. But when a person raises you, that person's lineage is imprinted on you from an outward point of view, okay, because of their habits, their patterns, and everything else. And then from a DNA standpoint, you always have your original lineage. So I just want to make that declaration. Mm-hmm. But when we talk about our lineage, everyone in as family members has had positive things that have happened to them and negative things that have happened to them, or positive things that they possess and negative things that they possess. And some of those things, behaviors, situations, outlooks, get passed down from generation to generation to generation. Some of them physical, for example, like my great-grandmother always had headaches. My grandmother has headaches. My mother has headaches. So I have to have headaches. You know, or some of those positive things where my great-great-grandmother always sang, and my great-grandmother sang, and my grandmother sang, and I sing, and my mother sings, and sings in the family, and we're just a musical family, and we all sing together, you know, or whatever that case may be. That is what we're defining as the lineage. And there are positive aspects to that lineage and negative aspects to that lineage. Bukeka, what would you say are some of the things that you find as patterned in your lineage?
Well, in my lineage, there's a lot of civil rights activism in my lineage that goes way back. Okay. And so one of the things that I found myself realizing or noticing, and you and I talk a lot about noticing our thoughts, noticing our patterns, those types of things.
Yes.
When my son was about 7 or 8 years old, we were at a store. He was running through the store. Lineage, ancestry, thought. Oh my goodness, my son is running through the store. Someone might think he's stealing something, or someone might hurt him, okay? Only because of the things that I was taught in my lineage through the lens of civil rights. And what that created was fear. It caused me to probably be overprotective, as opposed to him just feeling free in that moment. So I noticed in that moment that my ancestry, my lineage, that part of that burden, I wanted to be very aware of that from that point forward, so that he could still feel free, so that he could feel that he was a kid and not have to take on that burden of the lineage that came through. So there's all kinds of things that come to mind. And just like with you, when it comes to singing, singing household. So I'm really grateful for that lineage. Sometimes when I sing, I hear nothing but my mother. I'm like, that is Joan, Joan. And sometimes I have to find my own voice because it's so much like her. But it's true. So it's still such a gift. It's such a wonderful gift. So I love the balance, being able to recognize those things that are wonderful and uplifting, and then also recognizing those things that are possibly detrimental and keeping me from being the free spirit that I am.
Yes, yes. I'm sitting here thinking about my own family. So for me, one of the things that I know is very prevalent in our family is medical backgrounds, just medicine. My grandmother, I was told, was always the person that people went to for care and for making sure that they were okay. My mom was a nurse. My cousin, I have 2 cousins or 3 cousins that are doctors. It's interesting. My oldest son graduated with a degree in anthropology, sent himself back to school, and is now in radiology. Medicine is prevalent. And even for myself, I'm not the quote unquote modern day nurse or doctor, but I studied the ancient wisdom and wellness from the holistic point of view. And so energetic medicine and medicine is prevalent in our family, and then we have people who deal with the negative aspects of it, like my grandfather was an alcoholic, my father's an alcoholic, alcoholism keeps seeming to pass down. And when people are dealing with that, or even if I was dealing with that within my own family, the statement is that you do not have to take on the burdens of your ancestors. We can honor our ancestors. We can love everything that our ancestors brought to bear for us, but we can accept their gifts and not necessarily take on their burdens. And that's something that we have to face. We have to face from even a childhood perspective, okay, that inner child, that little child that basically took on, the fact that everyone was drinking around me, and, maybe it's prevalent that I drink, and I need to face that. I don't have to take on drinking. It doesn't have to be passed down just because my father did it and their father did it. The same thing goes for violent behavior and abuse. It can stop with you if you choose. We go back to that power of decision. What do you think?
Absolutely. That power of decision is very powerful, because when you make that decision, you are changing the trajectory of your life. And you're also changing the trajectory of the people that that you bring into the world, whether, again, it's through adoption, or whether it's through the birthing process, or even your nieces and nephews, all of those people that are looking up to you. You have the ability to change the trajectory when you change your own. And that is a powerful decision, because sometimes that decision isn't easy to come by, because you feel like, especially when it is a lineage type of thing or an ancestry type of thing, we are accustomed to passing it down. We find that we hear in our language that passing something down is an important thing to do. You know what I mean? Even from heirlooms to traditions, right? Passing things down from one tradition to the next is something that we feel is an honorable thing to do. But and as we get accustomed to that, we take on all of that stuff, right? We don't just take on the little bits. We end up taking on everything. So we have to be able to make a decision of what is something that I do want to pass down. What is something that I want to make sure is a tradition that's helpful and loving and that can be a positive foundation to stand on, as opposed to something that is detrimental. So every time we make a powerful decision to move in a direction that goes beyond our ancestry, that is a decision that will lead to a better life for ourselves and a better life for the people that we influence, the people that we influence in our lives.
You know, you're so right, because I sit back and I think about a story I just heard the other day. Matter of fact, was it a commercial? I'm not quite sure. But a woman was talking about in her family, they always cut off the sides of the ham. They always cut off both sides of the ham. And it's just like, okay, well, why do you do that? Somebody finally questioned her, why do you do that? And she said, you know, I don't know why. My mother taught me to do it that way. And so she went back and asked her mother. And she said, Mom, why do you cut off the sides of the ham? You know, for Thanksgiving, every time you prepare the ham. She's like, you know, I really don't know. It's just that grandma always did that. So she went back to the grandmother and she said, you know, why did you cut off the sides of the ham? And she said, because the pot was too small.
Wow.
And so we have to make sure that when we pass things down, they make sense.
Yes.
We have to make sure that if we're giving the gift of knowledge, that we give the gift of knowledge in context. Let's just leave it there. In context, with information, with an understanding of why it takes place and how it's assisting in a positive way.
I love that you said that.
Yeah, can you believe it? You know, and we follow things blindly without question, without knowing. And, you know, that leads me to a few different things. One is that you are with your mother, your father, your grandmother, your grandfather. Talk to them. Talk to them about their lives. Talk to them. What was it like? Because as they reveal their lives, what you're going to find out are specific things that are taking place in yours that are just traditions that have just been passed down from generation to generation. How they choose to organize the household, how they choose to react in certain situations. Are they ones that are peace and calm and ready, or are they angry? Are they ones to project on and judge and be judgmental? Or are they one to just hold back and reserve until they hear the whole story told? There are so many different aspects of what people bring to bear. And what happens is that, and I'm going to call it the mythic map that maps out our life, because this is how we grew up. This is what we heard. And it kind of maps out in our imprint on our soul. That basically says, well, this is what I know is right. This is what I know is wrong, based on that lineage, based on how my grandmother was raised, my mother was raised, how I'm going to be raised, or how my father was raised, or whatever the case may be, whoever's raising you. And these things have significance. Learn about the lives, learn about what they went through. Step out of reacting to that mother, father, grandmother, grandfather, and observe them and see how they behave. And then dare to take a look at yourself and be truthful.
I agree. You know, you mentioned about just going through life blindly. And I think for people, they end up doing that for decade after decade after decade. And then it gets there later in life and they begin to question, what happened to my life? What did I do? What's happened in all of these decades? And then they realize that they have been going through life blindly, that they've been just doing what's always been done just because it has been done, and then not giving themselves that permission to put their own stamp on what their life looks like. So I think for what I think is helpful to know for our audience is that it's your time to make a decision about who you are as an individual. It's your time right now to recognize the gifts that you have and to notice where they've come from, but then to also use those gifts for the good of your life and the good of life in general. So when we think about our ancestry, it's not just to think about how the bread was made or how the ham was cut, but it is, as you said, Enolia, to have a consciousness of how that is impacting me as an individual and what that then leads to in terms of how I am impacting others and how I am impacting the lineage to come, the generations to come. What can I lend to that in a way that's going to be helpful and hopeful?
So let's go there then. Let's have the conversation about it. If you know that your father, and I'm going to take this as a direct story from our lineage, like on my father's side, they were angry. They approached a lot of things in anger if you pushed them really far. If you pushed my father far, he was not only angry, he was rageful. Okay. And then I look at whenever I was drawn to anger when I was younger, I could not only be angry, I could be rageful, no doubt, rageful. So how do I get that to stop? How do I get that to stop with me? And see, these are the things, first of all, you have to be truthful and admit to yourself what the issue is. I was an angry person. When I got angry, I went to rage. Mm-hmm. That wasn't healthy. It wasn't healthy for me physically. It wasn't healthy for my relationship. It wasn't healthy for my relationships. It wasn't healthy for how I dealt with issues or problems that would push me to anger. And the first key step is, one, to notice. We always talk about noticing. But then the second part of that, and some of the most important parts of that, is to face it.
Yeah.
To say, okay, yep, I am an angry person. I am an angry person. I go to rage if I get pushed too hard, for whatever the situation may be or the person may be.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other part of that is that I want to be a better person. So where did this anger come from? Well, the only thing I could think of is that, like, when my father got angry, he was rageful when I was younger. So the first thing was that, why was I mimicking that? And it was because that's what I saw anger was. That's how he took it out on me if we were in confrontation. And so I realized that being angry didn't resolve the issue, that I was wasting energy being angry. Mm-hmm. And the problem could be resolved 10 times over while I was sitting there going through the emotional roller coaster. So the key thing that I had to recognize in myself is that my emotional state went on rampage when triggered the right way. And I had to stop allowing the trigger to move me there.
Wow.
And so in stopping that trigger and just saying, okay, when I got angry, why am I really angry? Because most of the time, it wasn't really the situation at hand. It was something deeper than that. And I had to deal with that deeper scenario, which was that, I always got angry this way because my father got angry this way. So that's how I dealt with anger. That's the emotional state I went to and defined as that's the appropriate emotional state. And I had to change that definition of that emotional state. I could be angry and not yell. I could be angry and not go on an emotional roller coaster. I could be angry and not take it out on somebody else. I could be angry and not stress my body to the point of a physical reaction. So in other words, I learned how to be angry and not raise my voice no more than I'm talking to you. And not allowing it to move me or trigger me to a point of rage.
Right.
And to deal with the problem at hand without the emotional roller coaster leading my life.
Right. What triggers me is worthiness. That's my wheelhouse, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I go deep, both of my parents were educators. And we very much grew up in a household where being in the Black middle class was to be elite. I had no desire to go into education. I didn't finish my degree. I didn't go into academia like my parents did. And what that triggered for me is this sense of not being worthy. If I didn't have the initials behind my name, the PhD, the MA, even the BA, then I am not as knowledgeable, smart, and able to contribute the way that educated people are from the landscape of academia. And that has been something that has been troublesome to me for quite a while. It was when I had to make a decision on my own that I am worthy, not because of what I know, not because of what I do, but simply because I exist, that things began to change for me. But prior to that, I was just a victim of everything. I was just a victim of everything. When it came to my relationships, when it came to my jobs, when it came to everything, I was simply a victim of whatever was thrown at me until I began to stand in my self-worth. And then the initials didn't matter anymore, because initials cannot replace the genius that I am.
So you chose not to be the victim, correct?
I chose not to be the victim. Right.
And you made a decision.
Yes.
A powerful decision about how you chose to be and how you chose to see yourself.
Right. Right. As opposed to seeing myself through the eyes of being an educated Black woman in the world of academia or some type of profession. That just was not my path. And I had to accept my path, love my path, and know that what I'm doing has worth and value. But I couldn't do that being a victim.
Right. Right. And see, the key thing here is that we have to confront ourselves. Nobody could have made that decision for you or influenced that decision for you. You had to choose to make that decision. It's the same with me. I had to choose that I could be a better person and not be an angry person all my life. I had to make that choice. I had to choose that anger was not going to lead my life. I had to choose that I'm not going to react based on triggers that were so long past it was like, why is this still haunting me at this time and stage in my life? Why would I allow it? I had to choose that, yes, and face that, yes, I am an angry person at times, but anger does not have to lead me.
Right.
And then once I made those choices and made that decision and honored that, I was able to shift. And then I could look back at it and say, you know what? I accept the gifts of my ancestors, but I don't have to accept the burdens of them.
Yeah.
I can learn from the burdens. I learn from what it means to be angry. I learn from what it means and how it can impact me physically, mentally, emotionally. If I let that rampage just run wild versus basically making a decision and taking a stand saying that won't lead me, and that, I can protect myself. I know I can protect myself very well if I need to verbally, if I got angry,
Right.
but that I don't need to defend in that manner at all.
Yeah.
And then what happens is that I change that from having power over me to having my own power.
Yes. Well, I think that is a powerful message for people who are listening, because we know that people are having this experience, because we're having this experience. It's not anything unknown. People are dealing with this every single day. As we go through all of these, the tumultuous times that we're in right now, all of that is still coming into play even more so because of the fact that we are so conditioned to simply do things because that's what's always been done. And when we're in times like these, to step out of that can seem scary, but at the same time, it's imperative that we do so in order to create a better future for ourselves so that we can feel good about who we are in these times. And as we do that, other people can see us and even draw off of that power, that stance, that ability to be who you are without taking on all of the past and the detrimental aspects of the past. So I think this is a very good time for us to have this conversation.
Yeah. And then I don't want to lose sight of the power of forgiveness.
True.
I don't want to lose sight of it. It plays a huge, 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 huge role right now, right here, for anyone who chooses to use it. It is a powerful tool to use, because I could have looked through the eyes of my ancestors in an angry way, but the first thing I had to do was I had to forgive myself in the role that I played with anger. I'm going to say that again. I had to forgive myself in the role that I played with anger. And then I forgave my father. I forgave my father because he only knew what he knew. He only behaved how he behaved and what he learned. So for me, the prayer goes like this: I forgive myself. I forgive my father, my father's father, and his father.
Yes.
And then if it came from my mother's side, I forgive myself. I forgive my mother's mother, and her mother.
Yes.
But the final part of that prayer is that it stops with me.
Right.
I am not going to pass this on. Mm-hmm. I am not going to look at my whole life through the eyes of anger and through the eyes of pain, because I couldn't make the decision to change that pain with self-discipline, self-reflection, inner perspective, inner knowing, understanding my inner worth, and getting it to stop with me so that I do not pass it on. I chose not to take on the burdens of my ancestors, but the gift, which is that anger will taint the outlook of life if I allowed it to continue. And then I would pass that same burden on to my children.
Right. Yeah.
And so By forgiving, I give them a chance, because it stops. It truly does stop with me, and the behavior stops. And so the patterns stop and the triggers stop. And like, I'm so grateful that I can sit down and have a talk with my sons and never raise my voice, and really share that it really makes me angry, or really, I'm really concerned, or whatever the case may be, but I don't have to raise my voice no louder than this.
Yeah.
And I can impress upon them with the words that I have to say, and it doesn't have to come from a place of animation. It doesn't have to come from a place of physical, like, oh, it could potentially be physically violent because I'm rageful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or that person who wants to do the one-upmanship. So, oh, you're angry, well, watch me get angry. And you look up and it's escalated, and you're at a point of no return, and you're like, how did I get here?
Right.
Because in the end, when both parties are hurt, you look at each other and you feel disgusted.
When you talked about forgiveness, I'm right there with you. I believe that because of the work that my parents were in, yes, on the outside they were seen as both very powerful civil rights leaders, but that was taking a toll on their marriage, and that toll on their marriage affected my sister and I, and in particular with me. I took on a lot of my mother's pain. And so I also had to go through that forgiveness process. I forgave myself for anything that I had allowed to take on from her pain to pass on to my son, right? I forgave her for basically doing what she felt that she had to do. I was the only person that she could talk to. So at 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, I'm getting all of her pain. And so I had to forgive her for that. And that was something that I also had to forgive my father, because of the tumultuous situation that they had between them. They did not see me because they were going through so much. So that forgiveness is extremely important, because until you do that, you're still stuck. And that does not bode well for you mentally, physically, spiritually, and it doesn't bode well at all for your ability to pass on anything relevant to those in the lineage that you're creating, or that the lineage that I'm creating. So it is imperative that it stops with the unforgiveness stops. The forgiveness piece frees you, as we've talked many times before, and you do such a wonderful job of helping people through that process of forgiveness so that you are free, and then allowing that freedom to really help you soar in life. And the people around you truly appreciate it, I believe.
Oh, we are in a growing process. It is a continuous learning and practice to learn how to forgive, to learn how to love at every level, to learn how to love no matter what has taken place, to not allow a behavior, a burden to take you where you don't want to be. So I would say for our audience is that honor your ancestors. They bring you great things. Embrace their gifts. They're wonderful. Let go of their burdens. Don't take them on and pass them on. You don't have to. It can stop with you. And as Bukeka so eloquently shared, we are worthy, and we have to see that. We have to honor that. We have to use that inner navigation system, that inner compass, to be able to know that we deserve to be here, be loved, and we are capable and have the self-discipline to face our inner challenges and to ensure that it stops with us.
So true, so true. Well, we so appreciate you being with us today on Be Empowered. Hopefully this message resonates with you, will lift you to new heights and allow you to move forward throughout this day and every day afterwards in a powerful new direction. So Enolia, do you have anything else that you want to add to this wonderful conversation?
Take our words, be lifted, transcend the burdens, embrace the gifts. You are wonderful. We love you. We care about you, and we honor you.
Yes.
And thank you to the ancestors,
Yes.
because we would not be here, the strong and powerful beings that we are, without you. We are grateful, and we are here.
And we are here. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed the show. We look forward to bringing you more shows in the future. To learn more about our co-hosts, check out their websites, www.bukekastyle.com and www.enolia.live. Learn about their masterclasses for conscious transformation, their personal coaching, along with their international retreats and expeditions. Are you an entrepreneur looking for another line of income? Check out www.planetmarketing.com/Enolia and www.planetmarketing.com/bblakemore. We are here to transform your life. Thank you for listening.